Well, bet you didn't expect to see this coming, of course. But obviously, as this is kind of a tradition, every time when summer comes to an end with the Little League World Series coming to an end here in my hometown, there is only one thing left to do, obviously for my channel, to wrap up the summer, to begin my Oscar nomination predictions for the films of 2025 for this upcoming Oscars for 2026. You get the idea. So, yep, it is that season again, and this is going to be a pretty interesting season, I will have to say the least. But obviously, this is, of course, for my usual Oscar nomination predictions that I usually do from the end of August all the way up till the final nomination predictions. But for those who are new to the channel, first up, hi, my name is Brian, and I will be doing, obviously, the Oscar nomination predictions just in the top 8 categories every, at the end of each month from August all the way up to December. And then about a week or so after, a week before the Oscar nominations, specifically when either the nomination balloting is closed, and if we manage to get everything, like all the other nominations, we will predict all 24 categories. Yep, 24, of course, because, of course, this year is the beginning of the Best Casting category that will be occurring. In order for probably a lot of us to know what the Academy will deal with when it comes to the casting category means to them, even though I already know that casting and ensemble are completely two different definitions, we will be getting a short list for Best Casting as well as for cinematography from what we've been hearing. And also, there is one big major rule that has now occurred. All Oscar voters have to watch everything that was nominated in all 24 categories. Not just the 10 films up for Best Picture, but of course all the other movies that were in the non-Best Picture nominees in the top 8 categories. Every nomination in the technical categories, including the ever-favorite Best Original Song category. All the 3 featured film categories, so they have to watch everything in the animated, international, and documentary feature category, and all the short films. And if they don't manage to get the requirement to watch everything, then they are not allowed to vote. But of course, the big massive question that everyone asks, why did this not start it at the very beginning of the Oscars? Or even a couple of years down the road? Because I can tell you, there might be a lot of different winners that I think that might have happened that might not actually end up going to the same person, because as we have seen, at least the past 3 years, we have been seeing the Oscars giving a little bit more of their, not really say favoritism, towards their favorite Best Picture movie and almost try to get to everything. Like, Anora almost completely swept the Oscars. It only lost for supporting actor for Yor Borisov because that was Kieran Culkin's Oscar to lose. So, yeah, maybe now with everyone who is requiring to watch everything that is nominated, we'll see if they don't really go much at everything on trying to give almost everything a win, like give the director everything that was nominated for, like we just saw Sean Baker winning for, although Christopher Nolan only won 2 out of 3, and then the Daniels taking all 3. That might happen with one film maybe this year, and I'll actually talk about it a little bit here. And obviously there is one big movie that had been released at the beginning of the year that hasn't been the big buzz, is, of course, Sinners. Ryan Coogler's follow-up to his Black Panther movies. It's already been considered the best movie of the first half of the year. Even the, is it ASFA mid-season critic awards things? Like, it obviously dominated that, but that obviously showed, everyone agreed, it was the best movie the first half of the year. And we've been trying to get a little bit more closer, trying to get movies released in the first half of the year into, some more Oscar consideration, even though Challengers didn't do much, but Dune Part 2, obviously, even though that failed 4 nominations, not getting a lot, because Netflix really went all in on Emilia Perez, and I almost stated this, I think, in a couple, but Netflix is trying to become Weinstein, but in the wrong reasons, and Neon's doing it for the right reasons, because Neon, Oh boy, they have a serious big campaign manager from what we've been hearing, and they have a lot of candidates that could be big this year. And obviously, speaking of Neon, they won again for the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival with It Was Just an Accident. But they also had a big movie that was also premiered that year at that festival, with Sentimental Value, which that is also going to be showing up at a couple of festivals. As some of the Cannes films that have already made their premieres over there, not just It Was Just an Accident, but also The Secret Agent, another one from Neon as well. There were a couple of movies like Die My Love, Highest to Lowest, Spike Lee's remake of High to Low from Akira Kurosawa. We'll just see, and I know there was also the Kiss of the Spider-Woman musical that premiered at Sundance. Yeah, so yeah, we gotta really have to keep our eyes on obviously with the international voting basis of the Academy now because of how more global it has become. And obviously, we're doing these prediction videos before we begin with the Venice International Film Festival, which begins this Wednesday, August 27th, and as well as the Toronto International Film Festival, which will be going in about a week from now, next Thursday, September 4th through the 14th. So, there are a couple of movies that you have to keep your eyes out on, but sometimes maybe if we saw what happened last year with The Room Next Door, that you might not need to win the Golden Lion at Venice to do so, unless if you're a big top candidate, like if it's like either like Begonia or No Other Choice or The Testament of Anne Lee or Jay Kelly. We'll have to see which one of those goes because Alexander Payne is the jury president. And then, of course, for TIFF, like not just some of the Cannes films and some of the Venice films, but he also got, we got Battle of a Small Player, Del Toro's Frankenstein, which I believe is also going to Venice as well. I believe that's out of competition, I believe. Train Dreams, Wake Up Dead Man, A Knives Out Mystery. The Wizard of the Kremlin is also going to be showing in Venice, so not really much. But then, of course, you got some of the bigger films that might be coming out, like in the later half, like The Smashing Machine. That's another film that's appearing at both festivals. Rental Family is also being at TIFF. But then you have, like, Marty Supreme. I think I said that, like, Marty Supreme, Smashing Machine. That kind of rhymes almost. And then Avatar, Fire and Ash, and Wicked for Good. So, we'll see how the People's Choice Award winner at TIFF will go. Because this could be, this might be, the first time, if, depending on regarding the life of Chuck, it might be the first film since, Where Do We Go Now that wins the People's Choice at TIFF, but gets 0 Oscar nominations. That could be a massive thing that might be historic, especially with Neon's candidates. So we'll have to see how The Life of Chuck does, if it does something, but Neon has a lot more candidates than they thought of. So they probably think they should have put The Life of Chuck the previous year. They should have released that after picking up a lot of films at Venice and even like a lot of the international films at like Venice and Cannes, of course. Now, what I will of course be doing when I do my predictions, I will actually not be going the direction that the usual award show predictors would go. They would usually go Best Picture first and then directing, acting, and screenplays. Instead, I'm doing the reverse way with screenplay, acting, director, and picture because kind of revealing the best picture for last is always the best thing for it because it kind of fits more easily than just starting immediately in the top. So yep, let us begin. So for adapted screenplay, I have Begonia, Hamnet, No Other Choice, Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere. I don't know why they added the Springsteen at the last minute for their title. And Wake Up Dead Man, A Knives Out Mystery. I think we'll just see how, obviously, with Glass Onion getting in here, of course, obviously, and the only reason it's adapted because Benoit Blanc is a pre-existing character, but I think we're a little bit more confident with Wake Up Dead Man at least getting the screenplay nomination. You might notice I don't have anywhere, not just in the 5 I'm going with, but neither in the bottom 10 I'm going, like the bottom 5, that I'm going with. I don't have One Battle After Another, Paul Thomas Anderson's new movie. I've seen a lot of people predicting it and adapted, and I've seen some people predicting it original. Even the Wikipedia page says it's original, and I don't know where to go with. So, and a little heads up, I'm not going anywhere with One Battle After Another. I'm not going to predict it for anything at the moment, because that September release date is kind of giving me a little bit of scratching in my head. It's just like, is that a bad move or something like that? Like, I think, like, yeah, I believe A Star Is Born, Cooper's remake, probably did premiere late September, but it's just like, it's either going to go one way, shape, or form. So we'll just have to, that's kind of like, since that movie is coming up, I'll just have to wait and see how that movie is, especially since it's not showing at Venice or at TIFF. So I don't know if that's a good sign or a bad sign, so we'll have to wait and see. I'm not going all big on Hamnet at the moment, but I think Screenplay might be good. And no other choice, obviously, to see if we can get a non-English film in at least both Screenplay categories. This might be and because of Neon's heavy campaign strategy, we'll see how that movie does when it premieres at Venice. Like, if it wins the Golden Lion, maybe it would actually get a good slot in here. But Train Dreams, I'm kind of looking out here. This is actually from Greg Credor and Clint Bentley, who, of course, did Sing Sing. So maybe an Afterglow nomination for the two in the screenplay category might be something. It just really depends if, like, Hamnet or Deliver Me From Nowhere, I'm not saying Sing right now, I just keep forgetting, or No Other Choice doesn't do anything, or even Wake Up Dead Man gets like, any of the five, if they get disappointment reactions, maybe Train Dreams would get it in. If they want to give Wicked for a good Best Picture, you have to put it in there. I'm not really sure. Maybe Ballad of a Small Player, Edward Berger's follow-up to Conclave, which that's premiering, I believe, at TIFF, I believe. Well, that's also, like, I believe another Netflix candidate that they have with Train Dreams. But I think they're, like, the I would say the fifth and fourth candidates for Netflix, so yeah. But if The Life of Chuck managed to get a comeback into the Oscars race, it would just be for screenplay for Mike Flanagan. I don't think it would not be able to win that award, unfortunately, because of Neon's more candidates. So they probably should have put it in adapted last year. If they did, Flanagan would have probably won an Oscar, or not, because usually the People's Choice Award winner most of the time is a top screenplay candidate. For original screenplay, I have Jay Kelly, Marty Supreme, Rental Family, Sentimental Value, and Sinners. I think the top two pretty much needs no explanation. Obviously, we don't have the reactions to, obviously, the other three movies here, but if Jay Kelly, obviously, is Netflix's top candidate, I think that's where they're going to go with, especially Noah Baumbach here, although they didn't went all in on White Noise a couple years back, but this might be Netflix's top candidate for the season. Rental Family, obviously, is looking as the favorite to win the People's Choice Award at TIFF. If it does, would it become the original screenplay frontrunner? But if Sinners is the true Best Picture frontrunner, that might not happen this year for Rental Family. Marty Supreme, I was a little bit hesitant of going with it because the Oscars never have gone with the Safdies, of course. Obviously, Uncut Gems came in very late that season, of course, in 2019, and no one really talked about Good Time, but like the Hannacast basically said in his predictions that the Safdie brothers are critics' favorites, but not audience's favorites. But a lot of people were really talking about the trailer for the movie, of how great it looks, even though I have not watched the trailer. Like, one thing I usually do, I kind of really avoid trailers, because I really want to go in blind when going into these movies when I do my marathon, usually after the award season. So, we'll have to see. Like, I know the Smashing Machine, I think I don't have that in the screenplay ones, but if they're going to choose one Safdie movie or the other, it might be Marty Supreme, although the Smashing Machine is going to both Venice and TIFF. I know I really should also be putting it was just an accident in here, because obviously with the Neon film winning the Palme d'Or and Cannes, it automatically gets in like the three categories it gets in: picture, director, original screenplay. But right now, with the competition right now, in the original side, it might not show up in the screenplay side, especially with sentimental value. It might be Neon's top candidate more so than it was just an accident because of the whole acting showcase for this movie, and obviously with a previous filmmaker having been nominated for the worst person in the world in original screenplay, and with being Norway's nomination the previous year, back in 21, excuse me. So I think sentimental value is going to be Neon's top candidate that everyone's going to go with. But speaking of Netflix, obviously, if it's not Jay Kelly, what if is this thing on? Bradley Cooper's follow-up to Maestro. Man, also starring Laura Dern, another Netflix movie about divorce. I think Will Arnett is in this. Bradley Cooper is in a supporting role in this one. Man, like, the Academy really takes to Bradley Cooper, and although it's not showing at Venice or TIFF, I heard it is being premiered at the New York Film Festival, so that's either a good thing or a bad thing, because the New York Film Festival, that and BFI London Film Festival, they don't have top prizes, so that's not going to really help us, but it's just that if Netflix is going to try to do their Weinstein campaign strategy and bet on one film in particular and ignore every of the other, what would be considered their great films, even though this is Noah Baumbach we're talking about, it would be all in on Jay Kelly. But they could really go with this thing on, because with the Academy loving nominating Bradley Cooper, but they still can't give him a win. We'll see where The Testament of Anne Lee will go into. After The Hunt, I don't have it for anything in my predictions, because it is showing at Venice, but it's out of competition. And obviously, as we saw, they didn't took to Luca Guadagnino's last two films with Challengers and Queer, of course. Like, Challengers, was a critic's favorite, but it wasn't really an audience favorite from a lot of people would have said. So, and what many people consider Challengers the best movie of 2024. They got 0 Oscar nominations. So that's the thing. So I'm not going with After the Hunt for anything, even though it does have a lot of Oscar bait to it. Of course, it's a Guadagnino movie. It has a big cast. Very late release date, so that's a good thing. It's showing at Venice, but it is out of competition, but it's not showing at TIFF. So this could be a critic's favorite and another audience that are not going to like the movie, so we'll just have to wait and see on that one. And then Sorry Baby might be like a critic's choice favorite, and definitely probably an Indie Spirit favorite. It's like the best reviewed film that came out of Sundance. Like, obviously didn't win the top prize, but like a real pain, so Sorry Baby is kind of in that level. But it just, the competition right now, it's going to be kind of tough for Sorry Baby to get in at the moment. On to the acting races. For supporting actress, I've got Elle Fanning in Sentimental Value, Ariana Grande in her lead performance in Wicked for Good. I'm still saying she's leading, because after I saw Wicked, yeah, she's totally leading. Igna I don't know how to pronounce it. Igna Ibsbadottir Lelias in Sentimental Value. Hopefully somebody does pronounce that correctly. Wunmi Musako in Sinners, and Maria Yamamoto in Rental Family. This is kind of not easy to choose a candidate right now, because obviously I think that everyone agrees then that the two are the most likely would be the Sentimental Value supporting performances, especially with Elle Fanning and Igna. Fanning did not get in last year for A Complete Unknown, which I think she was the superior supporting actress candidate than Monica Barbaro, in my personal opinion. She even appeared in my personal Oscar lineup, obviously for 2024. So yeah, I prefer her over Monica Barbaro. So even though Barbaro was great, but yeah, she should have been up for A Complete Unknown last year. Grande is actually really good in the first Wicked, but I'm not going with her immediately for the win, because obviously, from what I heard, even though, once again, I'm sourcing the Hanacast saying that obviously the second act of Wicked is very divisive amongst a lot of people in the Broadway audience. It might turn out better in the screen than it is on stage, so we'll have to wait and see on that one. So, yeah, I'm not going with Grande for the win at the moment. It really depends on if it is on par with the first film. Now, I might have heard what the awards contender, aka Brian Rose, said, that they filmed both movies back to back. If that is correct, that might be good for Grande. Sinners could also be the potential double nomination between her and Haley Steinfeld. Maybe, obviously, with her now being married to, I believe it's Josh Allen, I believe. Yeah, Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills, which football season, of course, is coming up with the NFL, of course, even though high school and college just started this past weekend. So maybe if there could be two movies that could get the double nomination, but then you have Gwyneth Paltrow and Marty Supreme, Laura Dern and Jay Kelly, and then you also have Iowa Debris, an actor in The Hunt. So, like the Succession stars getting in supporting actor last year, with one of them taking the win, we'll see both the main stars of The Bear getting Oscar nominations. I almost really considered of putting Iowa Debris as the front runner because with Kieran Culkin winning last year of a TV star winning an Oscar. But once again, it really depends on how After the Hunt does. And although I don't have the smashing machine at the bottom for screenplay, maybe Emily Blunt might get her second Oscar nomination, depending if both Safdie movies do so well. I can also imagine that both of them will probably not make it for director because they might split votes. So, but yeah, either this could be a possibility. We might see would it be the first time to have two movies getting double nominated for supporting actress? I'm not really sure. But if Wicked for Good doesn't do anything, I might put Steinfeld because I still think Rental Family has to be in here in a lot of the categories if it's the TIFF favorite. For supporting actor, I have Aidan Delibes in Begonia, Akira Omota in Rental Family, Delroy Lindo in Sinners, Adam Sandler and Jay Kelly, and Stellan Skarsgård in Sentimental Value. Now, obviously, just want to mention, if you might be questioning how I would rank the nominations, this is me, I think, what is the most likely to get nominated versus the most likely to win. So yeah. Skarsgård, Sandler are probably two of the ones that could be battling it out for the win. Emoto, continue with the Rental Family thing. Delroy Lindo, it's either him or Miles Canton. Sinners could be a movie here that could be the first movie to be getting double nominations in both the supporting categories if they really go all in on Sinners, because it is a really good point. It just depends on how, where SAG, BAFTA, and even though Critics' Choice don't matter, or the Globes, but SAG and BAFTA, where they're going to go, because Sinners is guaranteed the SAG Ensemble frontrunner regardless. After seeing some images of the Wizard of Kremlin of what Jude Law looks like as Vladimir Putin, maybe with a makeup transition he might be nominated. And this is from the director behind Clouds of Sils Maria and Personal Shopper. I believe it's Olivier Assayas. I believe that's how you pronounce it, I believe. I know with music biopics I should be considering Germany Strong here for Springsteen Deliver Me From Nowhere. And if Wicked for Good is a top Best Picture candidate, you almost have to put in Jonathan Bailey. And I know I really should be putting in Bradley Cooper in Is This Thing On, because it's another movie where he's directing and also starring, this time as a supporting player. It's just with the competition here, and obviously you have to make sure this list is diverse as possible, of course, to prevent it being a white list. That's the thing, even though I believe it was all white in 2022, but that was because Best Actor has been very weak when it comes to competition for nominations. But just right now in the supporting categories at glance, without Venice or TIFF helping us, it really kind of depends on where everything is going to go. Now for Best Actress, I've got Jessie Buckley in Hamnet, Cynthia Erivo in Wicked for Good, Renate Reinsve in Sentimental Value, Amanda Seyfried in The Testament of Anne Lee, and Emily Stone, yes, I'm calling her by her real name, in her supporting performance in Begonia, because the story kind of feels like it's falling on the two conspiracies instead of the CEO, because Stone is supposed to be playing the protagonist of the movie. It just depends on how much screen time she has once the viewing is shown. Is she leading or supporting? But with her and Yorgos Lanthimos, that's basically an equal match, I would say. Reinsve was so close, I would say, of getting in for the worst person in the world. I guarantee she was probably number 7 for actress, because I think Lady Gaga was ahead of her for House of Gucci. Because with the worst person in the world getting that out of nowhere nomination for original screenplay, because it was very interesting, because I remembered I was predicting her almost all year to get in for Best Actress, and I think I dropped her out in December, and then I'm kind of glad I didn't predict her, but it would have been almost interesting if she would have showed up, and I would have been upset about that. But I am more confident in Arrival getting in here, not just because of looking at the competition roster, but I kind of almost stated this, that if they do want to give her the win, it would have to be for this film. Because obviously it would really depend, like I kind of had talked about this, and even though I was predicting her to be the big snub of last year, that didn't happen, of course, although I'm glad that she got the nomination, because she really did deserve that. It just right now, the only competitors I can see, if Is This Thing On does well, maybe Laura Dern. Julia Roberts might get in for After the Hunt, which might be the top placement for that film. Jennifer Lawrence has got some praise for Die My Love, which obviously that's from Lynn Ramsey, and I believe Martin Scorsese produced the film. But this could be a movie like We Need to Talk About Kevin, where it might not be an audience thing. Eva Victor might be a Critics' Choice and Indie Spirit nominee for Sorry Baby. And then for Emma Mackey and Ella McKay, which is James L. Brooks' new movie, I think I heard it's a Christmas film, so I'm kind of staying off for that for a minute. But James L. Brooks is kind of back in this conversation. It really depends how that movie does, because it's obviously not showing at any of the festivals. So is this going to be another Holdovers, where it's going to be another great Christmas film that gets in for Best Picture? That's going to be more of a question mark that we'll have to wait and see. But right now, the competition doesn't look that intense at first glance, but I will tell you, probably once we get closer and more candidates come in after the showings at Venice and TIFF, New York, London, and the other movies coming out, maybe this competition might get a little bit more stronger. But right now, the competition at the moment is for Best Actor at the moment. And, oh gosh, I've got Timothée Chalamet and Marty Supreme, George Clooney and Jay Kelly, Brendan Fraser in Rental Family, Michael B. Jordan in Sinners, and Germany Allen White in Springsteen Delivered Me From Nowhere. So there's like 4 options, like multiple options here. Are they going to give Germany Allen White the Oscar here because of his success with The Bear, and just give him to him for playing Bruce Springsteen to continue with not giving a music biopic Best Actor like they did last year when they gave it to Adrian Brody, and deservedly so? Or is Chalamet finally going to get his Oscar or maybe this might be George Clooney's time to win for leading. Michael B. Jordan, I don't know if he would win. Like, obviously, he's like Nicolas Cage in Adaptation. He's playing, obviously, a set of twins, of course. Although, Adaptation, that's a completely different fictional version of a Kaufman twin. But, obviously, this is, of course, a fictional story. I had to put Fraser in here because if Rental Family's the TIFF winner, then it makes a lot of sense. It's just it's like between 4 of them. And then I really should be putting in Jesse Plemons and Begonia in here. It's just the competition is something. And then maybe Will Arnett in Is This Thing On, or Dwayne Johnson could do something in The Smashing Machine. Daniel Day-Lewis is coming out of retirement again with an Anemone. Man, I'm almost acting like Nemo right there. Obviously a trailer drop, and his son is directing the movie. I think DiCaprio's not going to get in for One Battle After Another. I just have him in there just because, obviously, it's his first time working with Paul Thomas Anderson. It's just it's so interesting to see Day-Lewis in the conversation when a Paul Thomas Anderson movie is running for somebody else. That's just kind of odd. But if he didn't get in for Don't Look Up and Killers of the Flower Moon, I don't think DiCaprio won't be making. He might get a Globe nomination or a Critics' Choice nomination, depending on how many people they go with. But I think he would be the least likely out of the movie for One Battle After Another to get nominated. It could just be like Licorice Pizza, where it just gets picture, director, and screenplay, but I don't know where it's going in for screenplay, so that's why it didn't go anywhere on One Battle After Another other than maybe DiCaprio in the bottom. For Best Director, I have Yorgos Lanthimos for Begonia, Jafar Panahi for It Was Just an Accident, Mitsuo Miyazaki, or as she calls herself, Haikara, for Rental Family, Joachim Trier for Sentimental Value, and Ryan Coogler for Sinners. Yeah, I know it's odd for me putting in 2 non-English films in for director, or should I say 2 neon films in for director, because you don't usually see studios getting double nominated in the same category like for director. It's kind of rare to see that nowadays. Unless if you were Weinstein at the time, maybe Neon could do that. So yeah, is this going to be Yorgos' year finally? Maybe. I just have Coogler as the front runner right now because it makes the most sense. Joachim Trier might be more of a BAFTA favorite. And then obviously I had to put in a woman director in here. Some people are saying Chloe Zhao for Hamilton, who I do not have in the bottom 5. Maybe Manifest Full for The Testament of Anne Lee. If that movie does well at the reactions at Venice and TIFF, maybe she could be the one, and it would be appropriate for having her husband being nominated the previous year. And Brady Corbet should have won Best Director, by the way. I mean, he directed the hell out of that movie. Maybe Park Chan-wook could also be in, so maybe we might see 3 Neon films get in, but I would say Jafar Panahi would actually be out if No Other Choice does come in for director. Because if No Other Choice wins the Golden Lion, then I think It Was Just an Accident. It's probably going to be out and would be kind of, not really say Titan levels. It might still get nominated if France does submit it for the international feature category, or Luxembourg, because you know for a fact Iran is no way in hell going to submit the film. But right now, with Rental Family being the TIFF favorite to win, I'm going to put Haikara as the female choice for Best Director. If Wicked for Good does something, Woo John Nam-Chu finally gets in, because he won for Critics' Choice out of 10 nominees that year. No, it was 8 last year, so... And managed to win that without getting an Oscar nomination. Interesting. Noah Baumbach, that Jay Kelly might be a movie where the directing might not be a showcase as a standout compared to the acting and writing, so I don't think Baumbach will get that opportunity here. And maybe Del Toro might get in for his Frankenstein movie. I just think that might be more of a bigger directing thing. I could even put Hamilton over Del Toro's Frankenstein, but it's just right now the bottom 10th slot as the 5th possibility if he shows up. It really depends on which one Netflix goes in, but I think Netflix will go in on Jay Kelly first before Frankenstein or Wake Up Dead Man or Train Dream. So yeah, they have 6 candidates, and they're probably going to go all in on 1 or maybe 2 or 3. And finally, for Best Picture, I have Avatar, Fire and Ash, Begonia, It Was Just an Accident, Jay Kelly, Marty Supreme, Rental Family, Sentimental Value, Sinners, Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere, and Wicked for Good. So yep, I did put Avatar, Fire and Ash on here, and Wicked for Good, obviously, but yeah, I think Avatar, Fire and Ash might be fine, at least. I wouldn't say it's a top 5 candidate. It's just probably going to be in that 9th or 10th position at the moment, because I think they're not going to probably, they're probably going to go all in on, it depends on how the movie does. Unless if it gets mixed reception, then it will still probably get tech nominations, and win visual effects, obviously, but it just might not get in for Picture. I have It Was Just an Accident being the one and done nomination this year, where it just gets one nomination outside of Best Picture, which in this case is for Director. Just because it's right now the Palme d'Or and Cannes, I had to put it in here just for the sake of it. So yeah, it's just going to be a one and done, even though I don't have it for original screenplay. I think the directing nomination will benefit for it getting in for Best Picture, and maybe the international feature nomination, because I mean, I'm Still Here managed to only get actress in international feature and still gets in for Best Picture. So yeah, we have now been seeing 2 non-English films, films competing in the international feature category, also compete for Best Picture, but that's the thing. Yeah, Sinners is basically the one to beat. Rental Family is the People's Choice Award favorite. Jay Kelly might be the Golden Lion favorite. Marty Supreme, I think the buzz for Chalamet maybe to win the Oscar, could be one of the 2 Safdie brothers movies to do so. Springsteen kind of feels like the typical bait film. Sentimental Value, your top neon and non-English film pick. Now, I have not really talked much about Begonia on my predictions. It's kind of the bane of my existence, I would say. Won't say why. The only thing I will say is, if the movie gets very mixed, I would say if there is one reason why the movie might not do well critically. The big con, I would say, if the movie would not do well, is Ari Aster is a producer on Begonia. And obviously, he's a very divisive filmmaker, of course. And although this is Yorgos' movie, I wonder if some of Ari Aster's filmmaking aspects might come into Begonia. Because, yeah, it is a remake of a Korean movie. And obviously, we have seen a lot of English remakes of non-English films lately, with not just with Coda, but also with Living in Highest to Lowest, 2 Kurosawa remakes. You can even go back to The Departed way back when. It's just that with Astor being involved as with the producing the film, I'm a bit worried if his filmmaking style might go in. Now I know we have heard that specifically Emily Stone had her hair shaved off. We heard about that for a while. But if there's like very gory imagery or stuff like that, because I did watch the teaser for this movie, and obviously, yeah, there was a lot of sex scenes and poor things, but it's just, if Astor's influence and if the movie has like a bad message of like what this movie is trying to tell us, it could really be a big Oscar fiasco this season. It just really depends. But the thing is, if a Yorgos movie is being directed but him not writing the film, since it's one of the writers of Succession and one of the writers of the menu behind the script, so if it's a movie that he directs that Lanthimos does not write, then it might be good to go. So, and this could potentially maybe be Yorgos' time. We'll just have to wait and see. But right now, I think Sinners could be the top candidate. But then you have like other candidates like Is This Thing On?, The Testament of Anne Lee, One Battle After Another. I'm just thinking that September release date might do something. After the Hunt, Wake Up Dead Man, Train Dreams, No Other Choice, Smashing Machine, Hamnet. I think Del Toro's Frankenstein, everyone's going to assume that we all are agreeing that it's going to be like Nosferatu this season. So that's where I think everyone's looking at Del Toro's Frankenstein being Edgar's is Nosferatu this year, where it just gets a bunch of text but doesn't get in for Best Picture. It might get in PGA, but we'll just have to wait and see. And that wraps up my Oscar predictions for the month of August. You're new to the channel, you can hit that subscribe button, comment down below on what your predictions are, yada yada yada. But also you can follow me on the Awards Expert app. That's, of course, the app that I use as the source material, of course, for this video. And I just, not that long ago, at the beginning of this month, just started upgrading myself to a premium account for this. And you can actually see me doing a couple of custom lists that I have done, including a top 8 expansion on all of the Oscars from my lifetime from 2000 through last year, of what if a scenario if the Oscars had 10 nominees in all the top 8 categories. I've also done a Best Picture expansion on the Golden Globes and the BAFTAs. I might do more expansions on some of those a little bit later on. I also have done a what if scenario if the Oscars created a Best Casting category from that lifetime's period, and as well as what I would think, what many critics and a lot of people would say, the 10 best films of those respective years that got 0 Oscar nominations. So check me out on the Awards Expert app. I might be playing a little bit of doing more custom lineups specifically, or custom lists specifically, to see what things will go on. So that's kind of a lot of fun. I've been doing that. So credit to Brother Bro, the Oscar expert, for creating that unique expansion. So I'm having a great time with the premium account. So with that said, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in September for another round of these predictions of what happens at Venice and TIFF, and we'll see if One Battle After Another is an actual thing or not.